Before you ever speak to a woman, she has already noticed something about you. Not your achievements, not your money, not the perfect sentence you prepared in your head. She notices the way you carry yourself, your posture, your eye contact, your expression, the way you move, and even how comfortable you are when there is silence. All of these things communicate something before the conversation truly begins. That is why learning how to talk to women does not start with memorizing clever lines. It starts with learning how to become comfortable with yourself. Because one of the biggest mistakes men make is treating every interaction like a performance. They believe they have to be funny, they have to be impressive, they have to say something she has never heard before. They have to somehow prove that they are better than every other man in the room. And the moment you start thinking like that, the conversation becomes difficult. You stop listening. You start monitoring yourself. You think about what to say next while she is still talking. You watch her face to see if she is impressed. You analyze every pause, every smile, every response. And instead of having a conversation, you are trying to pass a test. That pressure is exactly what creates awkwardness. So make the first shift. Stop treating the interaction like an audition. You are not standing in front of a judge who is deciding whether you are worthy. You are simply meeting another human being. Your job is not to convince her to like you. Your job is to discover whether the two of you actually enjoy being around each other. That small change in mindset can completely transform the way you communicate. You stop chasing approval. You become curious. You stop trying to control the outcome. You start paying attention to the person in front of you. And that is where real confidence begins. Confidence does not mean you never feel nervous. You may still feel your heart beating faster. You may still wonder what she thinks of you. You may still feel uncertain about what to say. But confidence means those feelings do not control your behavior. You can be nervous and still speak clearly. You can feel uncertain and still maintain comfortable eye contact. You can experience rejection and still walk away with your self-respect intact. That is real confidence, not the absence of fear. The ability to act without allowing fear to make your decisions for you. Your body language should reflect that mindset. Keep your posture natural. Relax your shoulders. Make eye contact without staring. Do not constantly look at your phone because you suddenly feel uncomfortable. And slow down when you speak. You do not need to rush your words because you are afraid of silence. Silence is not failure. Sometimes two people simply need a moment to think. You do not have to fill every second. You do not have to tell the funniest story in the room. You do not have to prove that you know everything. You can listen, pause, ask a question, and allow the conversation to develop naturally. One of the strongest forms of confidence is being comfortable when you do not know what to say next, because real conversation does not move perfectly from beginning to end. It rises, it slows down, it changes direction. Sometimes there is laughter, sometimes there is silence. Sometimes the subject becomes serious and then becomes playful again. That is normal. You do not need to control every moment. You also need to become less dependent on the outcome. If your entire sense of worth depends on whether a woman finds you attractive, every interaction becomes high pressure. A delayed reply feels personal. A short answer feels like rejection. A disagreement feels like an attack on your identity. And suddenly, another person's behavior controls your emotional state. That is not confidence. Your confidence needs to come from somewhere deeper. Build a life that exists outside of dating. Develop useful skills. Take care of your body. Work toward meaningful goals. Ride, learn, build friendships. Become comfortable spending time alone. Keep promises to yourself. Every time you improve your own life, you create evidence that you can trust yourself. Then talking to a woman becomes something you enjoy rather than something you desperately need to succeed at. And when you stop needing approval, you become more authentic. You no longer need to copy another man's personality because you think women will like it. If you are naturally thoughtful, be thoughtful. If you are playful, allow your humor to appear. If you are passionate about something, talk about it with genuine enthusiasm. Authenticity does not mean saying everything that enters your mind. It means your words and behavior are consistent with who you actually are. You are not pretending to be someone else just to earn attention, because eventually, pretending becomes exhausting. Being yourself is much easier. And once you stop performing, something else becomes possible. You can finally listen, really listen. Many men ask questions without actually caring about the answers. They ask, "Where are you from? What do you do? What do you like? What do you do for fun?" There is nothing wrong with these questions. The problem is asking one after another, like an interview. A better approach is to listen for something interesting inside her answer. If she tells you she enjoys photography, do not immediately jump to another question. Ask what made her interested in it. If she says she loves traveling, ask which place stayed in her memory. If she talks about a hobby, ask what she enjoys most about it. You do not need complicated questions. You need genuine curiosity. Because when you listen carefully, people reveal what matters to them. You notice what makes them excited. You notice what makes them laugh. You notice which subjects make them speak with more energy. And that is how conversations become deeper. You are no longer searching for the perfect thing to say. You are responding to what is actually happening. But listening does not mean becoming passive. A good conversation is an exchange. She shares something. You listen, you respond. Then you share something about yourself. If she tells you about a difficult experience, perhaps you share something you learned from a similar experience. If she makes a joke, respond naturally. If she expresses an opinion, give your own perspective. You do not need to agree with everything she says. In fact, respectful disagreement can make a conversation more interesting. You can say, "I understand why you see it that way, but I look at it differently." Then explain your perspective. You do not need to win. You simply need to communicate. Emotional maturity means being able to disagree without becoming defensive. It means you can hear another person's opinion without feeling threatened by it. And that creates something important: comfort. People feel comfortable around someone who does not constantly judge them or try to dominate the conversation. Remember this: confidence is not domination. Talking louder than everyone else does not automatically make you confident. Interrupting constantly does not make you powerful. Trying to control every part of the conversation can actually reveal insecurity. Real confidence allows another person to have space. You do not have to control the interaction. You can let it breathe. Another important skill is recognizing genuine interest without becoming obsessed with every little signal. This is where many men lose their balance. They analyze everything. They analyze everything. A smile becomes proof of attraction. A delayed message becomes proof of rejection. A long conversation becomes proof that something serious is happening. And suddenly they are living inside their assumptions. Stop doing that. One moment rarely tells you everything. Look for patterns. Does she contribute to the conversation? Does she ask questions about you? Does she remember things you told her? Does she make an effort to continue talking? Does she willingly spend time with you? Does she sometimes initiate contact? Interest usually involves some form of reciprocity. It should not require one person to constantly push everything forward. And remember that being friendly does not automatically mean being romantically interested. A woman can smile at you, she can enjoy your conversation, she can be kind to you, and still not want a relationship. That is completely normal. Do not turn politeness into a promise. Do not build an entire story around one signal. Pay attention to consistent behavior, and never measure your worth by someone's level of attraction to you. If she is not interested, it does not automatically mean you are unattractive. It does not mean you are boring. It does not mean something is wrong with you. Sometimes the connection simply does not fit. Two good people can meet and discover that their personalities, values, timing, or goals are different. That is not failure. That is compatibility. And understanding compatibility protects your self-respect, because when you understand this, rejection stops feeling like a personal attack. You can hear no without becoming bitter. You can accept distance without trying to punish someone. You can walk away without creating drama. That is emotional strength. You also need to understand the difference between showing interest and chasing validation. Showing interest is simple. You can say, "I enjoy talking with you. I'd like to see you again." You express yourself honestly. Then you allow her to respond freely. Chasing validation is different. It looks like constantly needing reassurance, sending message after message because she has not replied, trying harder when the other person is clearly pulling away, changing your personality because you are afraid of losing her. That is not connection, that is dependence. If you are always initiating, always asking the questions, always making plans, always keeping the conversation alive, while she contributes almost nothing, pay attention. Do not become angry. Do not blame yourself. Do not try to force the situation. Simply recognize the pattern. Interest should have movement from both sides. And if it does not, you need enough self-respect to step back. Stepping back does not mean playing games. Do not disappear just to make her wonder where you went. Do not create jealousy. Do not pretend to be unavailable. Do not manipulate her emotions to test whether she cares. Manipulation may create a reaction, but a reaction is not the same as genuine connection. Healthy communication is much simpler. If you are interested, be honest. If the interest is mutual, continue. If it is not, accept it. Clarity is stronger than games, and respect boundaries immediately. If she says no, accept it. If she does not want to continue a conversation, give her space. If she declines an invitation, do not pressure her for an explanation. Her boundaries are not obstacles you need to overcome. They are information. Respecting them does not make you weak. It shows that you are emotionally secure enough to accept another person's decision. The same principle applies to texting. Do not obsess over response times. People have work, responsibilities, families, problems, stress. One delayed message tells you very little. Look at patterns instead. If someone consistently makes an effort, an occasional delay means almost nothing. But if someone repeatedly avoids conversations, constantly cancels without suggesting another time, and consistently gives minimal effort, pay attention. You do not need to chase clarity forever. Sometimes the pattern is the answer. And when you genuinely like someone, slow down. Attraction can make imagination stronger than reality. You may start creating a future with someone you barely know. You begin treating every positive moment as proof. You fill the gaps with assumptions. Slow down. Keep discovering who she actually is. Let reality become more important than fantasy. This will also make your conversations better because you are responding to the person in front of you rather than the version of her you created in your mind. Now think about conversation itself. You do not need perfect opening lines. You do not need rehearsed jokes. You do not need some secret sentence that instantly creates attraction. Real conversations are built through curiosity, personality, humor, timing, and presence. Instead of asking only for facts, ask about experiences. Instead of, what do you do? Ask, what do you actually enjoy about it? Instead of, where have you traveled? Ask, which place changed the way you see things? Instead of, what kind of music do you like? Ask, what song can completely change your mood? The difference is simple. You are moving from information to personality. Facts tell you what someone does. Stories tell you who they are. And do not turn curiosity into interrogation. Share something too. Tell a story. Express an opinion. Talk about something you genuinely care about. If you love a certain hobby, explain why. If something funny happened to you recently, tell the story. If you learned something from a difficult experience, share it. You are not there only to discover her. She should also have a chance to discover you. That is what makes communication balanced. Humor can help as well, but humor does not mean constantly trying to make someone laugh. You do not need to become a comedian. Sometimes the best humor comes naturally from the situation. Laugh at yourself. Notice something unexpected. Playfully exaggerate an innocent moment. Decorate a shared joke. The goal is not to make yourself look superior. The goal is to create a moment both people enjoy. And do not be afraid of quiet moments. You do not have to entertain someone every second. A conversation that feels relaxed is often more powerful than one filled with nonstop talking. You can pause, smile, think, then continue. That comfort communicates more confidence than 100 rehearsed lines. Storytelling is another powerful part of communication. But you do not need to list your achievements. Tell stories that reveal your personality. Talk about a mistake that taught you something, a strange experience, a lesson you learned, something that genuinely made you laugh, a challenge you overcame. Stories allow someone to understand how you think, and you do not need to exaggerate them. You do not have to pretend your life is more exciting than it is. You do not have to be the richest man in the room, the funniest, the most successful, the most adventurous. You simply need to be real, because if you have to create a fake personality to hold someone's attention, eventually you will have to keep performing to maintain it. Authenticity is easier, and more importantly, it gives the other person a chance to decide whether they actually like you, not the character you created, you. That is the real purpose of communication, not manipulation, not performance. Coaching, two people discovering each other. And that brings us to the final lesson. Your goal should never be to make every woman like you. That is impossible. Your goal is to become a man who can express interest without desperation, a man who can listen without pretending, a man who can communicate without performing, a man who can handle rejection without bitterness, a man who can respect boundaries without feeling humiliated, and a man who can walk away from a one-sided connection without losing his identity. That is self-respect. You do not need everyone to choose you. You need to become comfortable enough with yourself that you can accept when someone does not. So the next time you approach a woman, do not ask yourself, what can I say to make her like me? Ask yourself, who is this person? Be curious. Listen carefully, share honestly, let the conversation breathe. Do not rush, do not overanalyze every signal, do not chase what is not being returned. And do not abandon yourself just because you want someone else's attention, because real confidence is not about having the perfect words. It is about knowing that you will be okay regardless of the answer. If she is interested, you can enjoy discovering the connection. If she is not, you can accept it and continue your life. Either way, you remain grounded, you remain respectful, you remain yourself. And that is the kind of confidence that cannot be faked. Not loud, not arrogant, not desperate, just calm, authentic, curious, and secure enough to know that your value does not depend on whether someone else chooses you.